The grand auditorium of Riverside University overflowed with cheers, camera flashes, and the rhythmic sound of names being called. Proud families waved banners, graduates hugged each other, and the atmosphere carried a sense of triumph. Yet, in a quiet corner by a tall glass window, 22-year-old Isabella Hartman sat still in her wheelchair. Her graduation cap leaned slightly to one side. Her program bent tightly in her lap as if it had absorbed every ounce of her nervous grip. Before we go deeper into Isabella's journey, take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Every subscription helps us create more stories like this, stories about love, resilience, and the power of kindness. Your support makes it possible to share these voices with the world. While the world around her celebrated, Isabella's green eyes looked vacant, fixed somewhere far beyond the walls of the auditorium. The smile she tried to hold faded quickly, replaced by the silence of being unseen. The daughter of Richard Hartman, a powerful CEO who was thousands of miles away on business, she had achieved one of life's greatest milestones. And yet, on this day meant for joy, she sat completely alone. Among the rows of proud families, another pair entered quietly through the side doors. Daniel Reyes, dressed in faded jeans and a clean but worn shirt, scanned the crowded hall. His hands carried the roughness of factory work, his shoulders the quiet weight of responsibility. At his side skipped his 9-year-old daughter Lucy, whose untamed brown hair seemed to defy any attempt at control. Daniel had come not for himself, but to celebrate his old friend's graduation. He hoped the moment would inspire his girl, a reminder that education could open doors he never had the chance to walk through. Lucy, however, seemed more fascinated by the people than by the stage. Her sharp young eyes darted everywhere, catching details her father often overlooked. It was Lucy who noticed Isabella by the window. She tugged at her father's hand and whispered, "Dad, why is that lady sitting all alone?" Daniel followed her gaze. The sight of the young woman's isolation tightened his chest. He hesitated, unsure, but Lucy's small hand gripped his firmly, as if already deciding they would not just walk past. Lucy pulled harder on her father's hand. "Can we go say hi? She looks really sad." Daniel hesitated. They were here for his friend's big day, and he had learned to be cautious about approaching strangers. Yet as he looked again at Isabella, her loneliness echoed his own memories of standing on the sidelines, waiting for someone to notice. With a sigh, he nodded. "All right, but just to say congratulations. If she wants privacy, we respect that." The two walked over. Lucy, fearless in the way only children can be, spoke first. "Hi, I'm Lucy, and this is my dad, Daniel. We saw you sitting here and just wanted to say congratulations on graduating." Isabella blinked in surprise, caught off guard by such simple kindness. Her voice was soft, almost uncertain. "Thank you. That's very kind." Daniel knelt slightly, meeting her at eye level. "I hope we're not intruding. My daughter has a gift for noticing when someone might need a friend." For the first time all afternoon, Isabella let out a small laugh. It was fragile, but it carried the warmth of someone remembering what it felt like to be seen. As the brief conversation stretched, Daniel noticed something unsettling. No one else approached Isabella. Around them, graduates posed for pictures with proud parents, friends exchanged flowers and gifts, and laughter bounced against the tall auditorium walls. But for Isabella, the celebration remained painfully silent. Lucy tilted her head, watching her closely. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked with the blunt honesty only a child could carry. For a moment, Isabella's confident facade cracked. Her fingers tightened around the edge of her program, the crumpled paper rustling in the stillness. She drew in a slow breath. "No, I'm not waiting. My father, Richard Hartman, he's at a conference overseas. He couldn't make it." The words fell like stones, heavier than the noise around them. Her father wasn't just any parent. He was one of the most influential business leaders in the country, the man who built global strategies, signed million-dollar contracts, and gave keynote speeches about leadership. Yet, he couldn't give a single afternoon to witness his daughter's greatest achievement. Daniel felt his jaw tighten. He didn't know Isabella well, but the emptiness in her voice was something he recognized, the same hollowness he had carried after losing his wife. He had learned the hard way how painful it was when the people you loved most weren't there for life's milestones. Lucy frowned. That's not fair. Dads should be here for graduations. The girl's innocence pierced through the moment, and for the first time Isabella let her guard down completely. A tear slid down her cheek before she could stop it. She brushed it away quickly, embarrassed. It's all right, I'm used to it. But Daniel could see the truth in her eyes. It wasn't all right. Not at all. The conversation drifted into an uneasy silence. Around them, families were gathering for group photos, throwing graduation caps in the air, capturing memories Isabella had no one to share with. Daniel shifted awkwardly, feeling the pull of responsibility. He didn't want to overstep, yet the idea of walking away from her, leaving her sitting alone again, felt wrong. Before he could decide, Lucy tugged at Isabella's sleeve. "Do you like ice cream?" she asked suddenly, her brown eyes wide with anticipation. Isabella blinked. The question seemed so out of place, so disarmingly simple, that she almost laughed. Yes, I do." Lucy turned to her father. "Dad, can we take her to the ice cream shop? Please. You always say special days deserve a treat." Daniel felt heat rise to his face. He rarely bought ice cream. Money was tight, and small luxuries often slipped to the bottom of the priority list. He started to shake his head, but Isabella caught the hesitation. For the first time, she spoke with quiet resolve. "If it's all right, I'd love to join you. Ice cream is my treat." Daniel hesitated. Part of him wanted to politely decline, to keep boundaries clear. But then he saw Lucy's hopeful grin and Isabella's fragile smile, the first real one he had seen since meeting her. Something inside him softened. "Well," he said slowly, "there's a family-owned shop a few blocks from here. It's nothing fancy, but it's good." Lucy practically bounced with excitement. "Yes, you'll love it, Isabella. They have the best cookie dough ever." Isabella adjusted her cap, her voice lighter now. "Then I guess I'm coming with you." As they wheeled toward the exit together, Daniel realized how extraordinary this ordinary moment felt. A stranger, a child's invitation, and an unexpected decision had already shifted the weight of Isabella's day. The little bell above the ice cream shop door jingled as they entered. The place smelled of waffle cones and chocolate syrup, its mismatched chairs and faded photographs giving it the kind of warmth that only family-owned businesses carried. Isabella rolled inside, taking in the cheerful chaos of children licking cones, parents chatting, and bright posters on the walls. It felt far removed from the cold, polished world she was used to. Daniel guided Lucy to the counter, letting her pick first. The girl leaned forward eagerly. "1 scoop cookie dough, please, with rainbow sprinkles." She turned to Isabella with exaggerated seriousness. "It's the best flavor. You can trust me." Isabella smiled, a real one this time. "Then I suppose I'll try the expert's recommendation." They settled into a corner booth. Daniel sat across from Isabella, quietly studying her as Lucy dug into her ice cream with no restraint. Up close, she looked even younger than her age, the exhaustion in her eyes clashing with the academic honors listed on her program. He wondered how often anyone truly asked how she was doing. After a few spoonfuls, Isabella set her cup down. Her voice softened. "Do you know what the hardest part of today was? Not the ceremony, not the speeches. It was realizing there was no one waiting to clap for me, no one to take a photo or say, 'I'm proud of you.'" Daniel shifted in his seat. He wanted to offer comfort, but instead he spoke honestly. "I know that feeling, different circumstances, but I know it. My wife, Lucy's mom. She died giving birth to her. Every milestone since then, it's just been the two of us. Lucy paused, spoon midair, watching her father. She had heard the story before, but each time it carried a new weight. She reached across the table and touched Isabella's hand with simple sincerity. I think you're really brave. Like my dad. The words silenced both adults. Isabella's eyes shimmered, her defenses crumbling. She whispered, I had an accident 2 years ago. Skiing with friends. One wrong turn, one tree, and everything I thought I knew about my life was gone. My father flew in, made sure I had the best doctors, but he was gone again within 2 days. Since then, it's been me and whatever strangers the nurses hired. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to reach across the table, to take her hand the way Lucy had, but he stopped himself. Instead, he said gently, You're not alone tonight. Not anymore. For the first time, Isabella didn't look away. Her eyes met his, and for a brief moment, the noise of the shop faded. They were just two people, both scarred in different ways, finding comfort in the simple act of being understood. The days after graduation turned into weeks, and what had started as a chance encounter slowly became something more. At first, it was just a few exchanged photos, Lucy proudly showing off her Lego creations, Isabella sending snapshots of the books stacked beside her bed. Then came longer messages, Daniel describing the exhaustion of double shifts at the plant, Isabella confessing her nervousness before job interviews. Their conversations soon grew into nightly phone calls. Sometimes they laughed about small things, like Lucy's attempt to make pancakes that ended in smoke alarms. Other nights, the tone was heavier. Isabella admitted how potential employers often looked at her wheelchair before they looked at her resume. Daniel confessed how he feared he wasn't giving Lucy the life she deserved. One Saturday afternoon, Daniel's car finally gave up for good in the grocery store parking lot. He called Isabella, more to vent than to ask for help. To his surprise, she stayed on the phone for hours, researching used cars, comparing prices, even building a spreadsheet. When she sent it to him the next morning, Daniel stared at the screen in disbelief. No one had gone to that kind of trouble for him since Clara died. "Why did you do all this?" he asked during their next call. Her answer was simple. "Because you needed help." "Isn't that what friends are for?" Daniel didn't reply right away. He was struck by how natural the word friend sounded coming from her lips, yet how much deeper it already felt. Lucy, meanwhile, had fully embraced Isabella into their lives. She insisted she join their video calls at bedtime, demanded she attend her school picnic, and once even introduced her to her teacher on camera as my really smart friend who graduated from the big university. Isabella laughed when she heard that story, but inside, something shifted. For the first time in years, she wasn't invisible. She belonged. It was late evening when Isabella's phone lit up with a number she hadn't seen in weeks. She stared at the screen before answering. "Isabella." Her father's deep, commanding voice filled the line. "Congratulations. I heard about your graduation. Sorry I wasn't there. Important negotiations in Zurich." She closed her eyes, letting the excuse wash over her like so many others. "You always have important negotiations, Dad." Richard ignored the edge in her voice. "Listen, I have good news. A consulting firm in Colorado reached out to me directly. They're impressed with your thesis on accessibility in business. They want you on their team. It's the perfect opportunity. High salary, corporate housing, exposure to real leaders." For a brief moment, Isabella felt the thrill of recognition. This was the kind of position she had dreamed of. But then her chest tightened. Colorado, miles away from Daniel and Lucy. Miles away from the first people who had ever made her feel like she wasn't a burden. "That sounds great," she said carefully. "But I need time to think." Richard's tone hardened. "There is nothing to think about. You take this job. You secure your future. Don't waste your degree playing house with people who can't offer you anything. You're a Hartman. Act like it. The words sliced through her. Isabella felt the old, familiar wound open again. That she was only valuable as long as she lived by her father's definition of success. Her hands trembled on the phone. Dad, do you even hear yourself? You've missed every milestone in my life, and now you want to decide my future? For once, I want to choose for myself. There was a pause, filled only by his quiet, disbelieving sigh. You're emotional. This isn't about family. This is business. And business is what matters. Something inside her snapped. No, Dad, business is what matters to you. To me, connection matters. Being seen matters. Having people who show up matters. Maybe you'll never understand that, but I can't keep living by your rules. Richard's silence on the other end was colder than anger. Finally, he muttered, Do what you want. But don't come crying to me when you regret it. The line went dead. Isabella sat frozen, phone still in her hand. For years she had longed for his approval. Tonight, for the first time, she realized she didn't need it. She already had something more valuable, people who truly cared. The next morning, Isabella wheeled onto her apartment balcony. The city stretched below her, busy and indifferent, but she felt strangely calm. The echoes of her father's voice still rang in her ears. Business is what matters. For most of her life, she had believed him. But last night something had shifted. Her phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. Lucy says you're the smartest person we know. She also says smart people eat pancakes for breakfast. Just thought you should know. Attached was a photo of Lucy holding a lopsided pancake, grinning proudly. Isabella laughed out loud, the sound surprising even herself. She typed back quickly, Tell her she's right. Pancakes make people brilliant. Later that day, she called Daniel. What if I don't want to choose between career and this? Between a job in Colorado and the life I'm building here? Daniel hesitated, cautious. Then you find another way. But don't give up your dreams for us. You've worked too hard. She shook her head, even though he couldn't see her. My dreams aren't the same anymore. Success without connection feels empty. Maybe I can have both. Do the work I care about, but not lose the people who finally make me feel whole. When the consulting firm called to finalize her offer, Isabella took a deep breath. I'd like to negotiate, she said firmly. I want to lead the accessibility initiative, but I can do it remotely, with scheduled visits for quarterly meetings. If you want my passion, this is the way you'll get my best work. There was silence on the other end. Then, cautiously, the recruiter agreed to bring her proposal to the board. After she hung up, Isabella felt a surge of empowerment. For the first time, she had set her own terms, not just for a job, but for her life. That evening, she video-called Daniel and Lucy. Lucy waved at the screen, her mouth covered in chocolate. Did you get the job? Yes, she answered, smiling. But more importantly, I get to stay. Lucy cheered, almost dropping her dessert. Daniel simply looked at her, eyes soft with pride. And Isabella realized she hadn't chosen career over love, or love over career. She had chosen herself, finally, completely. A few weeks later, Riverside Park filled with the laughter of children and the smell of grilled hot dogs. Bright balloons waved in the spring breeze as families gathered for the annual school picnic. Daniel spread a blanket under a shady oak tree while Lucy tugged impatiently at his sleeve. Is Isabella coming? You promised, the girl insisted. Daniel chuckled. She said she'd try, sweetheart. Let's see. At that moment, Isabella rolled across the grass, her wheelchair bumping gently over the uneven ground. She wore a green blouse that caught the sunlight, and for once, her smile was easy, unguarded. Lucy ran to greet her, grabbing the handles of her chair to help guide her over. Soon, a small circle of children formed around her. Their questions came quickly, without hesitation. "Does it hurt to use a wheelchair?" one girl asked. "Sometimes," Isabella answered honestly. "But everyone has something. Some people need glasses to see better, some need hearing aids to listen better, and I use wheels to get around. It's just a different way of moving." Another girl raised her hand like they were in class. "Can I try sitting in it?" Isabella laughed. "Only if your parents say it's okay." Within minutes, she had a line of third graders taking turns, each discovering the world from her perspective. Their giggles carried across the park, mixing with the cheers from sack races and tug-of-war games. Daniel watched from the blanket, his heart swelling. He had seen Isabella vulnerable, guarded, even broken. But here she shone, patient, witty, and strong. She wasn't just surviving. She was teaching others how to see beyond appearances. Lucy returned, breathless with excitement. "Dad, did you hear? Isabella says being different makes you special." "Isn't that awesome?" Daniel's eyes met Isabella's across the field. She gave him a look of quiet gratitude, and in that simple exchange, he understood. This wasn't just a friendship anymore. It was becoming family. The weeks after the picnic brought subtle but powerful changes. Daniel still worked long hours at the manufacturing plant, still came home tired with grease under his fingernails. But something inside him had shifted. Watching Isabella face her challenges with determination made him question why he had let his own dreams slip away. One evening, after Lucy had gone to bed, Daniel sat at the kitchen table with forms spread across the surface. Isabella joined their video call, her face glowing softly on his cracked phone screen. "What's all that?" she asked. He hesitated, embarrassed. "Enrollment papers, for GED night classes. It's been almost 15 years since I left school. Feels impossible." Isabella leaned closer to the camera, her eyes shining. "Daniel, you've already done the impossible. You've raised an incredible girl, kept a roof over her head, and given her love every single day. Finishing school? That's just the next chapter." Her words sank deeper than she realized. For years, Daniel had carried guilt, the weight of dreams abandoned when life demanded survival. But now, for the first time, he felt permission to imagine more. He signed the forms that night. The months that followed were grueling. Factory shifts by day, classes by night, homework crammed into lunch breaks. But Isabella was always there, helping him review math problems he barely remembered, quizzing him over the phone while Lucy shouted answers in the background. When exhaustion threatened to win, her steady encouragement pulled him back. Lucy became his biggest cheerleader. At school, she bragged, "My dad's studying just like me. He's going to graduate too." Teachers smiled, inspired by the girl's pride. And slowly, Daniel began to believe it himself. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was building a future, one he could finally be proud of. 1 year later, the auditorium at Riverside University echoed once again with cheers and camera flashes. But this time, the graduate walking across the stage wasn't a young woman in a wheelchair. It was Daniel Reyes, wearing a cap and gown that felt almost unreal on his broad shoulders. Lucy leapt to her feet in the front row, cheering louder than anyone else. "That's my dad," she shouted, her voice ringing through the hall. Families nearby chuckled at her enthusiasm, but Daniel's heart nearly burst with pride. Beside Lucy sat Isabella, her eyes glistening. She clapped until her hands stung, a smile spreading across her face. The journey hadn't been easy. Late nights, early mornings, endless doubts. But she had been there for every step. And now, watching Daniel accept his diploma, she felt a swell of joy that was more than pride. It was love. After the ceremony, the three of them gathered outside under the same window where they had first met. This time, no one was alone. Lucy tugged at Isabella's sleeve. "Do you remember? This is where we saw you sitting." "Crazy, right?" Isabella nodded, her throat tight with emotion. "I remember, Lucy. That moment changed everything." Daniel joined them, diploma in hand, still dazed by the applause. He looked at Isabella and Lucy standing together, sunlight falling across their faces, and realized something undeniable. This wasn't just friendship anymore. This was family. The celebration outside the auditorium lingered into the evening. Families posed for photos, students exchanged hugs, and the golden light of sunset cast long shadows across the campus lawn. Daniel stood slightly apart with Isabella and Lucy, diploma still in his hand, but his mind far away. For weeks, a small velvet box had rested in his jacket pocket, passed over in moments of doubt, taken out in moments of courage. Tonight, as Isabella laughed with Lucy, helping her balance her graduation cap on her head, Daniel realized the time had come. He cleared his throat, nerves tightening in his chest. "Isabella, can I talk to you for a moment?" She turned, curious. "Of course." Daniel knelt down so he could look at her directly. His rough hands fumbled for the box, finally opening it to reveal a simple ring, an heirloom that had belonged to his grandmother. Nothing flashy, nothing expensive, just something honest. "I don't have much to offer you," he began, his voice unsteady. "No wealth, no status. But what I do have is love. Real, steady, everyday love. You've given me courage I didn't know I had, and you've shown Lucy the kind of kindness that changes lives. So I'm not asking you to marry just me." He glanced at his daughter, who watched with wide, shining eyes. "I'm asking you to marry us, to be a family." Isabella's breath caught. Her hand flew to her mouth, tears springing to her eyes. For a moment she was silent, overwhelmed, trembling, caught between disbelief and joy. Lucy couldn't hold back. "Say yes, Isabella. Please, say yes." She laughed through her tears, nodding quickly. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Daniel slipped the ring onto her finger, his own tears finally breaking free. The three of them embraced awkwardly, but completely, wheelchair, cap, gown, and all, wrapped together in something stronger than circumstance. Around them, strangers clapped, touched by the scene without knowing the story behind it. But for Daniel, Isabella, and Lucy, the world had shrunk to a single circle of love. For Isabella, it wasn't just a proposal. It was proof that she was no longer invisible, no longer alone. For Daniel, it was a promise that life could be rebuilt from ashes. And for Lucy, it was the answer to a wish she hadn't known she'd been making all along. The crowd outside the auditorium had mostly dispersed when a black car pulled up near the entrance. From it stepped Richard Hartman, tall and imposing in his tailored suit, his expression unreadable. For a moment, Isabella froze. Part of her wanted to turn away. Another part of her, the little girl still longing for her father's approval, waited. He approached slowly, his eyes flicking to Daniel, then to Lucy, then back to his daughter. "Isabella," he said simply. She straightened in her chair. "I didn't think you'd come." "I almost didn't," Richard admitted. "But when I heard about your choice to negotiate with the firm, I realized you've become stronger than I gave you credit for." He hesitated, as though the words tasted strange. "I may not agree with all your decisions, but I can see you're building a life that matters to you. And I was wrong to dismiss that." Isabella's heart pounded. For years she had chased even the smallest scrap of recognition. Now, hearing it, she felt both relief and sadness. "It's not just about the job, Dad. It's about people, about being present." She gestured to Daniel and Lucy beside her. "They've given me more family than I ever had under your roof." Richard's jaw tightened, but he didn't argue. Instead, he looked at Daniel. "You're the factory worker, aren't you?" Daniel met his gaze calmly. "Yes, sir, that's me. I may not have much, but I take care of the people I love." Something flickered in Richard's eyes, pride, envy, or perhaps regret. He gave a stiff nod. "Then maybe that's worth more than I thought." "Lucy, never one to miss a moment, stepped forward. "She's happy with us. You should be happy for her too." Richard glanced at the girl, surprised by her boldness. For the first time in years, a faint smile tugged at the corners of his mouth. "Maybe you're right, young lady." It wasn't an apology, not fully. It wasn't a sudden transformation. But it was a crack in the armor, a beginning. And for Isabella, that was enough. She no longer needed her father to complete her. She had already found her family. As the evening settled over the campus, the three of them, Daniel, Isabella, and Lucy, walked together toward the parking lot. Lucy carried Daniel's diploma like a trophy, her chatter filling the air. Isabella's hand rested lightly on Daniel's, her new ring catching the fading sunlight. They were not the wealthiest family, nor the most conventional. Yet as they moved side by side, there was a completeness that no degree, no promotion, and no corporate title could ever replace. Sometimes family isn't the one you're born into. Sometimes it's the one built through small acts of kindness, through noticing someone who feels invisible, through sitting with them when the world has walked away, through choosing to love every single day. A year ago, Isabella had sat alone at her graduation, unseen and forgotten. Today, she left not just with recognition, but with love, belonging, and the beginning of a life she had once believed impossible. And Daniel, once convinced he had nothing more to offer than survival, now knew he carried everything that mattered: resilience, devotion, and a heart strong enough to love again. Lucy skipped ahead, turning back with a grin. "See? Being kind changes everything." Daniel and Isabella exchanged a look, both laughing softly through tears. And in that moment, they knew. What had started with a single act of compassion had become the extraordinary story of a chosen family. Because in the end, life's greatest chapters don't begin with grand plans or perfect circumstances. They begin when someone dares to care, when someone chooses to see another fully. And sometimes, the simplest act, a girl asking a lonely graduate if she'd like ice cream, can change the rest of your life forever. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. Have you ever experienced a moment where someone's kindness changed your life? Share it. We'd love to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see a continuation of Isabella, Daniel, and Lucy's journey. Your voice might just bring their next chapter to life.